And let's begin in the Central African Republic. The United Nations envoy to the Central African Republic has expressed hope for peace in the country, citing progress made to end the inter-communal conflict. But in his update to the UN Security Council, Parfait Onanga Anyanga has also warned that the path towards reconciliation will not be easy. Our UN correspondent Li Tan has the latest from New York.
Briefing the Security Council via video link from Bangui, the UN envoy to the Central African Republic believes that the foundations for lasting peace in the country have been established despite ongoing challenges.
While the current situation remains unpredictable and precarious, I believe that progress achieved in various areas of the foundations laid are essential ingredients that can help bring about sustainable peace in CAR. We must redouble efforts to ensure that the remaining challenges are timely and fully addressed. We must do everything possible to ensure the peace process succeeds.
The envoy, who also heads up the UN mission to the CAR known as MINUSCA, said there have been improvements in the security situation and the restoration of constitutional order in the country. He said MINUSCA is also helping the African Union-led African Initiative for Peace and Reconciliation in the CAR and has been participating as a full member of its panel of facilitators. Now, this is important because it enables the UN to play a more involved role when it comes to supporting the African Union-led efforts in the political process.
We must be patient, we must be realistic, and we must put in place the critical conditions that will give the African initiative the greatest chance to succeed.
The UN estimates that nearly 615,000 people have been displaced by the conflict, and some 2.5 million people need life-saving humanitarian assistance. That's slightly more than half of the country's population. Li Tan, CGTN, New York.
For more on the conflict in the Central African Republic, I'm joined in a studio by Dr. Hassan Khaneja. He's an expert in conflict analysis and resolution. Dr. Khaneja, thank you and welcome to Africa Live. Now, the Central African Republic remains a volatile country despite the United Nations and the African Union remaining very optimistic and praising peace efforts there. So what are the possibilities, though, of a comprehensive peace solution?
The possibilities are there, even though small. Now, the process of the last 2 years that led to the current efforts that we see today should be followed by perhaps constitutional reforms and review that can allow for a restructuring of the entire country, in part because it's so divided along ethnic and religious lines at the moment.
Right, but the African Union and the European Union are looking for ways to start a new reconciliation effort, but there are still armed groups roaming around the Central African Republic, causing some insurgency there. What do you think would be a bargaining tool for those groups?
I think what the international community and the African Union should do is to use both carrots and sticks, especially for those parties acting as spoilers at the moment. Perhaps to impose sanctions, or at least a threat of sanctions, is going to, I think, to go a long way in making sure, or at least coercing them to get back into the peace process.
So when we talk about a carrot and stick, give us a bit of clarity as to exactly what is that carrot and stick effort that would see the warring factions come to the table.
For instance, there has to be promise of some rewards for those parties which are cooperating, but also sanctioning those parties, both militarily, diplomatically, and economically, that are trying to spoil the process, because there are about, I think, 14 armed groups in the CAR right now, and those are too many for a country of about 6 million people. And so there are always going to be people who are profiting from the conflict, who would like it to continue the way it is, the status quo at least. Now, bringing that to bear, both the rewards and the potential punishment, I think is going to go a long way in ensuring that whatever achievement has been achieved is sustained.
What exactly, though, is causing the troubles in the CAR?
Part of it is religious, part of it is ethnic, but frankly part of it is that some of the minerals are actually funding the conflict, in part because competition over power and resources is informing that. But a few years ago, of course, the coup that we saw did not make things easy. And so today you also have a country that's divided along the fault lines of tribe, of ethnicity, and of religion that has made conflict much more intractable than it should have been.
Because it has gone on for very long, though, is there a danger of the CAR becoming some sort of a forgotten war zone country?
In certain respect, it's been. in part because even in terms of humanitarian crisis, it's one of the hot spots in the world. But at the same time, it's not completely forgotten because we're talking about it today in such forums. And so what we can only hope is that the international community stays active, stays engaged to make sure that CAR does not become a completely failed state or forgotten conflict.
All right, Dr. Hassan Kaneja, thank you very much for your insights on the CAR.